Genesis has grown by leaps and bounds. It is part of our city. If it were to go away, it would be such a loss.
Most communities don't have such a comprehensive system in place for women that need help.
It was just a shelter, a 7-bedroom shelter. Not long after that, of course, we realized that the majority of survivors don't go to shelter. It's only a small portion, 8 or 9%. And so we opened a small office in the Oak Lawn area to serve women and children who either hadn't left or they've left and have other residential resources.
When you see these victims of domestic violence, it is physical, it is mental, it is financial. It comes from every age.
We need legal counsel. We need therapy. We need counseling for the mother and the child, right? So I believe it's just so many more resources because there's so many more different variations of this going on.
We're always trying to figure out how can we best serve those that really need it, and others are looking to us to figure out what that is.
The First Lady's Bruncheon was really a concept that Jan and I, this was what happens when you bring two preachers' kids together, right? And we know the keen impact that the faith community has and responsibility that the faith community has with regards to domestic violence. The attendees of the bruncheon are the faith leaders themselves. And it's a time for us to not only recognize those that are doing the hard work, but also to bring about an awareness in the faith community that Genesis is here, not just in their congregation, but in the community as a whole.
One of the things that I love at Genesis is we actually have an auxiliary called Heroes. He respects others. It's about 200 men members who say, if it's not okay in my house, it shouldn't be okay with me if it's in your house.
Speaking man to man about this stuff, and then saying it's okay to shame other men if they do this, gave a whole new life to this. And we had a big rally.
He stood on the steps of City Hall and said, real men do not hit women, period.
We can make a difference. And that's how society gets better. That's how Dallas gets better.
When I first came into this field, I didn't know about domestic violence. I'm not from domestic violence. And I started trying to read and learn and go to conferences and find out the best techniques and practices and best facts. So I got with the Dallas Police and the Behavioral Science Unit with the FBI, and I said, we need more information. Not just that it's bad, we know it's bad. What's the best way to prosecute a human trafficking case? What is the best way for police to respond to a child who's hiding under the bed when they respond to a domestic violence call? That is the Conference on Crimes Against Women. Cold case serial sexual assaults are solved because of what people learn at the conference. We have built it up so much that we have the best of the best speakers.
And we had 4 different countries represented too. So it's huge.
40 years as Genesis has been able to not just be a shelter and to be an advocate, to be there with the victim, to take him to court, to know, fight the legal system. That's all new.
The new facility on Lucas, it's a beautiful spot, and their outreach has just grown exponentially because of the facilities they have.
Women who said, he told me there wasn't any help for me, and look at this place. You did all of this for me. The wins at Genesis, they may seem small to people, but they're big to us.
I think over the last several years, I've learned the power of community, the power of people taking a stand and getting involved, and how much of an impact that can really have.
And it's important that we pass all this down from generation to generation, the importance of getting involved and staying involved, and to realize that we can make a difference.
4 decades. 4 decades for her.
That's 40 years of being here to provide hope, help.
4 decades for them, the kids, and 4 decades for her.
So that young men and women can have healthy relationships and solid families.
40 years of great work, and the lives that have changed, the lives that have been saved.
And there's still so much more to be done.
4 decades for you.